Alright, so welcome to editing video number 3. We are going to be talking about the color pop edit. Here are 2 examples right here, and as you guys can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a pop of color in the photo. Sometimes this might mean that the whole entire photo is just covered in color, and other times it might mean that the background is super colorful and you're wearing a neutral color like black or white, or vice versa, where the background is very neutral like white or black and you wear a ton of color to pop. So this is probably going to be the simplest edit to describe because our goal here is really just to get a lot of colors to pop. So as you can probably assume, your photo is going to need a lot of color in it. Now, one thing I will say right off the bat is that if you're doing lifestyle photography, aka like if you're standing in front of a wall, for example, make sure if the color pop edit is your goal that you're not blending in with the background. So let's say you're getting a picture in front of a super colorful mural like this. This was like 3 or 4 years ago at this point, but let's say you're getting a picture in front of a really colorful mural like that. If I had a ton of color on, maybe if I was going for a super abstract photo, it would be cool, but otherwise I would just kind of completely get lost in the photo. And you always have to think of your photos from an outside perspective. People aren't always going to be seeing your photo in like the full size that it is when they're scrolling through Instagram. A lot of people are going to be seeing your photos on things like a hashtag or seeing your feed all at once where all you see is this tiny little square. So although like blending in and like matching the wall or something of that sort could look cool if you see it up front, most people are going to be seeing it from a little bit further back in a tiny little square. So you have to really think about what would pop in that scenario, and that's where the opposite of the neutral with the color or the color with the neutral is going to come into play. So overall, your biggest focus on this is to take pictures in front of neutral settings, black walls, white walls, even brick walls, depending on like the color scheme you're going for, because the whole color pop thing doesn't have to include every single color. Maybe you want a color pop theme with a ton of different cools like purples, greens, and blues, or maybe you want color pop with orange, yellow, red, etc. Maybe you want color pop only with food, so you're gonna have to make a ton of colorful food like smoothie bowls and salads and things like that. I'm so hot right now. I just put the air on, but like it hasn't kicked in yet, and I know I'm in a sweatshirt, but I'm just committed to the sweatshirt already, so yeah, it's freaking hot. I don't know if you can tell that I'm sweating, but I'm sweating. But this is just a super self-explanatory edit. If you're taking a picture on a plain floor, for example, like a wooden floor or a white floor, put the color as the object, like a salad or a smoothie bowl. If you're taking a picture in front of a black or white wall, make you super colorful. Wear super colorful clothing, have colorful accessories, etc. If you're taking a picture on like a blue base, like a blue board or something like that, then that could be your color pop photo. If you have something like, you know, a plain color brownie on a white plate, for example, like that color would still pop. If you're taking a picture in front of a colorful mural, then you again would want to have the neutral colors on so that you can pop the colors in the back, but you still pop out as the object in the photo, or the subject in the photo. The biggest thing here is that when you're editing it, you really want to bump the contrast so that you're pulling the colors out of it. You want to saturate it so that you're pulling the colors out of it. If you're going for a cooler color pop, maybe decrease the temperature a little. If you're going for the warmer color pop, maybe increase the temperature a little. But the biggest focus with editing the color pop photos is really going to be focusing on pulling the color out. So you're not going to be desaturating it, you're not going to be dehazing it much, you're not going to be pulling the shadows out. If anything, you're probably going to want to darken them a little because that will help increase the color and the saturation, and that's just going to be your overall focus. Now, one thing that I do want to say before I show you guys an edit of a salad is that when you're pulling all these colors out, your skin is going to change. So as you increase the saturation, if it's a picture of you, then obviously your skin is going to saturate as well, and that can make you look really orange. Now, I know that the whole like orangey tan edit is like a thing now. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I see a lot of like fashion bloggers do it where you have like a more saturated skin tone. But if you don't want that, all you're gonna have to do is go into like the mix tab under color and then just desaturate the orange in the photo a little, and that will take your skin tone back down so that your skin doesn't literally look like an orange. So like I said, this is a super simple edit. Always just focus on keeping it opposite. You don't want color on color. Obviously you don't want neutral on neutral if you're going for a color pop photo. And if you're doing something like food photography, if it's a super neutral colored food like brownies or something chocolatey, for example, keep your base colorful. And if it's something colorful like a smoothie bowl or a salad, then put it on a base color background, something plain like bright blue or bright pink, etc. or put it on a neutral colored background. And that's kind of another thing too, like you can take a lifestyle photo like in front of a wall, for example, even if it's colorful, just as long as it's not busy. Like if it's a blue and pink wall and you have yellow and green on or something, like you'll still pop out of that. But if it's a multicolored wall and you have 3 different colors on to begin with, that's when you can get a little lost in it. So it's not like you can't take photos in front of a colorful wall, but if you're gonna take photos in front of color, just keep it more basic. But without further ado, I'm gonna show you guys a color pop edit of a salad. And what you will notice is that these photos typically are pretty easy to edit. You don't have to do as much darkening and brightening typically. So you will see that this one isn't as long as some of the other ones, but I hope that you guys enjoy. Of course, I'll be explaining how to do it throughout it, and I will see you at the end. Alright, welcome to the Color Pop edit. We are about to make a photo go from what you just saw to what you now see with the dark background in a matter of a couple minutes. So one thing I always recommend doing before any edit is to increase your brightness all the way so that you can actually get a true idea of what the edit looks like. But at the beginning, especially, ignore the email, but at the beginning, especially because it's a color pop, I want to make it a little bit brighter and I want to darken the shadows just a little to make the color pop out of it. So right here, I'm just increasing the contrast to increase the whites, blacks, and color, increasing the highlights to make it a little brighter, decreasing the shadows to pull the color out a little bit and make the shadows more prominent, and then increasing the white and black. As always, I decrease the temperature a little because I like the cooler vibe. And then at the bottom, I'm going to increase the vibrance, which is similar to saturation, and then also increase the saturation as well, because of course we want the color to pop in a color pop photo. So then I'm in color mix and I'm just going to mess with specific colors on their own. I personally like the cooler green, so I made the green a little bit more cool, and then I also brightened it just a little bit. And then I am just gonna kind of mess with all of the colors here and go for like the color vibe that I want. And this is where you can kind of make it the cooler color pop or the warmer color pop, or pull any colors out specifically that you really like and that you really want to highlight on your page. But because this exact picture has so many different colors in it, I'm just trying to balance it as best as possible while keeping a cooler vibe with the colors in mind, because that's what I personally like. So that's just what I'm going to do here for a minute or two. I'm checking for the blues, and if I had like a blue theme to my page, which I actually do, but I don't have the other colors, but if I wanted to pull blue out, I could have really taken that blue down and you saw the blue come out in the corner, so that's kind of a cool idea too. But then I'm moving on to clarity, and I'm just going to increase the clarity and dehaze it a little, because both of those will just help show the texture of the photo, show the detail of the photo, make the color pop out a little bit more. And then of course I sharpen the photo, because I always sharpen the photo a lot. Then I'm going back into the lighting. Now that I have the colors down, I'm just gonna mess with the lighting a little bit and make it a little bit brighter where I want it, make it a little bit darker where I want it, and just mess with those. So now I am moving on to the selective part, and this is where I'm going to mess with the background. I personally darkened the background on this photo, which you will see, but if you wanted the color to pop out of white, I could have also brightened the background to make it white, but that's totally up to you, and it's just totally based off of your theme. But I thought that black would really make this pop. So I just chose the color selective edit here instead of like the square selective or the circle selective, and I'm literally just coloring in as detailed as possible the whole outside of the bowl, aka like the whole entire background of the photo. And I really like to get super detailed, especially with food photography. I don't get as detailed with me, and I don't get as detailed depending on the background. Like if this was already a pretty dark background and I just wanted to take it to the next step of darkness, I wouldn't have to get as detailed with it. But if there's that whole entire outside of the bowl still light and I darken the rest of it, then it's going to be obvious that I colored it in. So if what is already in the photo is very different than what you're going to be trying to do with the photo, then you really want to get detailed with it. Otherwise, it's usually okay and it's not noticeable. But obviously for this one, I got super detailed. So all you're gonna do is zoom in with 2 fingers when you're doing this, and then you can just shrink down the little color tip thing, the little tip of the whatever you want to call it, and you can just get as close to something as you want. All right, and then I zoomed out. It looks like everything is colored in, and now I'm gonna mess with the lighting. So I did check to see if white looked good, but I just felt like it was very obvious with the white that I colored it in. If I would have taken the white up about halfway, it would have worked, but I really wanted it to be like super like white or super black, and after I messed with this a little, I just didn't feel like the color popped a whole lot. So I do mess with the white for a little, but I wanted you guys to see this, and I decided to keep this in so that you could see the difference when I change it to black, and you can see how much more the color pops with the black background compared to the white background. And as you can see right here, you could tell that I didn't color that in. So that's why on a photo like this, the detail is important. It's not always gonna need to be that detailed, but for something like this, it needed to be done. So I still haven't decided to change the background to black yet, but I did want to add another selective edit. So this is going to be a selective edit for a circle that I'm just going to put distinctly on the salad so that I can mess with the colors only on the salad and not on the background at all. So first, I'm just going to increase the saturation to make the color pop a little bit more. And then I'm also going to increase the contrast to bring the whites out, darken the blacks, and also continue to increase the color in the salad. Decrease the temperature because I personally like the cooler color, but that's completely up to you. And that's all I'm doing with that. So now I'm just checking to see if I like the white, and I have decided that I'm gonna see if I like black more. So I went back into the selective edit, drew the black all the way down to the bottom, and then I'm just gonna mess with that to make it really nice and dark. So since I want it black, I really pulled the blacks down a little bit. You can also increase the contrast, darken the shadows, darken the exposure. All of that would pull the blacks down a little bit more, but here I'm just fixing a little detail around the bowl. But I really like the black. I felt like the color really popped a lot more with the black, so that is what I went with, and that was my final edit. Alrighty guys, so that is that. Obviously super simple. Hope that you enjoyed. I think that this is a super fun edit, and one other little twist that you could take on this is to make the color pop whiter or more black. So like you could have the highlights really pulled out of these and have like very bright color popped photos, or you could have very dark photos where the colors are still super saturated, but you really have a lot of shadows and blacks in there as well. So those are just two ideas, but I think both of those would be really cool, and it would give like a really unique twist to the whole like color pop idea. But I hope that you enjoyed. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will see you guys in the next edit, which is a bright teal beach.